up, and welcome back to another edition of the MGE Table Talk. I'm your host, T. Turner. I'm glad that you came back. As I always say, you could really be doing anything with your time, but you chose to be here for the time allotted to you, so I greatly appreciate you stepping into the realm. As I told you guys at the top of the year, I am trying my hardest to make sure that we keep this as a consistent thing. As you guys know, behind the scenes, production-wise, we get real busy. And, I take the focus off of myself. But this is my journalism niche that I love to get into. So I'm glad that, again, you guys peeped it out, whether you're listening on the Apple Podcast Network, Spotify, or if you're watching it on YouTube. Greatly appreciate it. So today, I'm excited and very grateful to have somebody on set with me, man. Me and this guy, I feel, are kindred spirits. We have a lot in common. We're both Virgos, I believe.
Birthday the same day, bro.
Yes. Yeah. So, we do have a lot in common, man. We dibble and dabble in from the business world to politics to everything in between. But, we just upward mobily black man in the city, man. So grateful. Brad Gordon, how you doing?
Oh, man, I'm okay. How you doing, bro?
Pretty good, man. I can't complain, man. How have you been so far? We at the halfway part of 2025, man. What's been shaking with you?
Man, really not a lot has been shaking with 2025, man. 2025 is, for me, it's been a huge reset, man. A huge mental reset, perspective on a couple things, priorities, just things of that nature, man. I've kind of been, as we say, I've been inside and to myself, and just thinking about a couple things or whatever. But I think I'm gonna have to drag myself back outside here in the second half or whatever, and literally drag myself back out.
Well, I will say outside is always, it seems more exciting when Brad is outside too. I have to give you props on that. And, for those that don't know, like I said, you have an extensive business background. You've been involved with several businesses. Like I said, you've kind of dibbled and dabbled behind the scenes, helping curate different situations, whether it be in the business world or in the political world. That's kind of actually how we met, is doing some political things behind the scenes. Can you give a bit of a rundown, like in recent times, of the things you've kind of been involved in, just to kind of give the people a perspective? We ain't got to go too deep, but just a little recent resume.
Recent. Most people don't know this, man. Me talking about myself is actually is not something that I really do. So when I'm asked that, I'm always looking for, kind of a starting point and reference point. My mind is always, and attention is always focused forward.
Trust me, I understand, because talking about myself is always, for me, it's very cringeworthy. But once it's done, it's done. It doesn't matter how successful it was. It doesn't matter if it was. It doesn't, like, once it's done, it's done. Like, it's It's just kind of in the book.
Once it's done, it's done. That's my mind. That's just my mindset.
Yeah.
But my most recent thing that I've done would be tried my hand at the restaurant business with Sky, which is on Bennington Avenue. We closed the doors on that venture last September. That would be the most recent thing that I've done or whatever.
Now, what I want to bring up too, because you mentioned Sky, mm-hmm. That actually ended up being one of my favorite spots to go to.
Thank you.
I love the atmosphere and the vibe of it. The food was amazing, delicious. Mm-hmm. So it was, it was kind of heartbreaking to me when it closed the doors or whatever. But I know, again, like you just said, it's always forward momentum with you. Well, but I do want to ask, while we're kind of on Sky.
Okay.
Are there any plans maybe to kind of get back into that industry? Because again, you did it very well.
Oh, definitely. I appreciate the compliment. Definitely could have did it better. Obviously or whatever. You know, outside economic conditions notwithstanding, but most definitely, I am. I'm in the pro. So let me give you my process, bro. My process is never about like what I want as a consumer, because what I want as a consumer is super duper chill.
Well, you're just extremely different in general.
So my focus is always on if I'm going to ask you to give me your hard earned dollar, what product can I create that's going to be worth that transaction? That you're going to be more than happy to give me your hard-earned dollar in exchange for this product or this experience or however you want to table it, that I'm going to produce for you. And so, that's where I've kind of spent a lot of time mentally here. After taking kind of a mental break after closing Sky, and recently inspiration has kind of found me again with some ideas and things of that nature. So I'd say probably within the next 2 months, September at the latest.
September seems like a really good month to come back outside.
And my only procrastination is the weather. When we get into these dog days of summer and the humidity, you just don't. I just don't feel very sexy in the summertime, bro.
Listen, winter is always I love the fall. For me, fall is the perfect time of year because it's a cross between where it's not too warm and it's not too cold. And it's right in the middle, so you can come out with like a jogging suit on, and it's light enough to withstand the little cool temperature during the day, but it's not just overbearing. Like that is my perfect. And maybe the birth month has something to do with it too. I don't know, but temperature wise, I think the fall is just like the perfect time of year.
Man, I'm more likely this summer to throw a big ass adult water gun fight or something or whatever than a party or something right now.
Oh, I'm down for that. I think I still got a super soaker like in the closet.
I got 3 of them, buddy. You remember Target brought them back in 2021? I sure did buy 3 of them.
Listen. If that's a real idea, or if that's something that you really look at, please let me know, because we can do something for charity. We can get some teams together.
It wasn't an idea until I said it. So.
Well, there we go. See now it's kind of out there now.
It's out there in the universe, huh?
Yeah, and see now I'm gonna be pushing them a little bit, y'all. I'm kind of pushing them a little bit to kind of say, hey, let's make this a reality. Like end of the summer Super Soaker Jam or something, and you got teams, and Team Mad Game will be there, and we'll be victorious, of course, if you do like a tournament team type of thing.
What's that? Actually, it's not a bad idea.
I'm just listen. I'll piggyback off of a good foundation at any time. So, I kind of want to pivot a little bit because, as I mentioned earlier when I was first kind of introducing you to everybody, we are always involved with different aspects, whether it be business or politics. So, from an observational standpoint, how are you viewing the political landscape in the city right now? I mean, we got a different administration in place right now for our city. St. George has become official now. Like there's been a lot of shifts and movements within Baton Rouge in the last like 2 years. But what's your observation with the city right now?
Man, my observation is this is 2025, so now we got to go back 4 years, 2021,
okay.
Right? This has nothing to do with COVID or anything else. That was the COVID reality, though. But the vibe that you felt as a black resident in Baton Rouge, East Baton Rouge Parish, 2020, 2021, 2019, 2018, was that we were on a trajectory, right? Mm-hmm. that we were moving in a progressive direction,
Right.
in a more inclusive direction. And that wasn't because, the folks that want to be in a perpetual place of stagnation or regression were like, hey, let's just let's include. No, we were taking it.
Yeah.
This is us. We have the numbers now. We have the numbers electorally, all of these things.
Absolutely.
And when the inflationary recession hit in 2022, man, the damage that did to people's ability to even have the bandwidth to still be in that position of I'm going to take it, has taken a huge toll on our progress across the parish. And now we find ourselves in this place to where and besides the economist space, in my opinion, some of this stuff has to do with us being a parish where Baton Rouge has been a culturalist. The metropolitan area has been culturalist as long as we've been here. But as it became more of a urban metropolis, there are things that now are cultural. Mm-hmm. You go other places and they trace back to Baton Rouge.
Right.
So we're building our own culture, whatever. A lot of things good, dope. Some things not great.
True.
But again, all of those things go along with us being in our infancy in this journey. But man, we just find ourselves now in a place to where a lot of people, instead of focusing on the community, they're focusing on the village that resides under their roof, and that has to be the priority. And so, I've never looked at this, but I can't imagine what the numbers would say that since 2022, the numbers on the amount of black wealth that has been lost since we've had this change in the economy, and it just shows. Mm-hmm. We were not fast. We were 2 years too slow to get us to where we could have probably been at a tipping point.
Yeah.
To where we would have had enough momentum to still push through progressively with a lot of the things that were spearheaded by black entrepreneurship and things of that nature. Also.
So do you feel like we're now kind of moving in a backward kind of trajectory a little bit? Like do you feel like we had momentum, we were going up, and now we're kind of slowly, or it might even be rapidly? Do you feel like now the momentum is kind of going backwards? It's
not rapidly, man. It's it's a slow roll, back down the hill. But at the end of the day, it's not, some progress is being erased, but the direction of the future of the parish is still ours to decide.
Okay.
You just can't change the numbers to that. Now what can really set us back is if we don't operate in a strategic standpoint of understanding that we don't hold any political decision making right now in the state or in the parish at all. Mm-hmm. We have majorities in nothing. And with that being said, is we're in a place to where we need voters to be very educated. And we need to also understand that, when you're in a minority, you flip over tables, you make a lot of noise, this, that, and the other, but you're doing so in one, hoping to, well, maybe you catch them slipping and, they can't push something forward. Maybe you can, get people to look at their own self-interest instead of
Now you bring up self-interest, and we bring up making sure the voting base is educated. And I've had several conversations like this before. Does it do us any good for the voters to be as educated as we need them to be if self-interest is taking preference over the larger scale? So, like, prime example,
self-interest of the collective, not self-interest of me, not self-interest of Terrence. Let me clarify that.
Right. So what I mean by that is, like, we always talk about gerrymandering and everything, right?
Right.
With gerrymandering, it's kind of a twofold thing, because you have statewide, you have black elected officials who don't mind being compacted into one area because it's a safer thing.
Yeah.
But if it's diluted just slightly,
yeah,
and you include other races in this district, if you're good enough, you still have a pretty decent majority and you can still win. But you have people who are holding on, quote unquote, to certain levers of what they see as power, but it's more of a self-interest thing. It's serving them. They get a chance to have a title. They get a chance to
I'm not with that,
to have a status and everything. But in the long run, it's still limiting what a voting base, the power that a voting base could actually have, because you're packing everything into one area. So I guess my question is, how do we overcome that? Because we can have the most educated voters in the world, but if their votes are being diluted because of gerrymandering on both sides, what message do we give people at that point? I vote in every election. Anything that pops up, I'm always gonna vote in. If it's something I'm eligible to vote in, I'm always gonna vote. But it's hard to tell people keep voting, and they say, "What's the purpose?"
Well, there are I think we got a little lost in the power of our collective.
Okay.
And what that really looked like coming out of George Floyd or whatever, because it was just like,
it's kind of like a false reading.
Man, we are 13. We're 13% of the national population, but let's just say, because they lie about everything else, let's just say that census is lined up with 20% of the national population, right? We're not even 1/4 of the national population. Meaning we can't afford to say that we're going to refrain from exercising all options on the table to make sure that we continue to move forward, that we continue our forward progress. And what's kind of happened is there's a masterclass in manipulation that's going on in politics here over the last year, where if Terrence says, Brad, hey, don't forget you go vote tomorrow, man, bro, that ish don't matter, but I go vote, right? And the progress that I want, because I don't understand how government works.
Right.
Government is designed to, literally, we're looking at a president now that's willing to set the law aside to do things that he wants to do.
Absolutely.
But to do those things, even in the most extreme way, he can't do it through the mechanisms of government because it moves too slow.
Right.
It's designed to do that. But if we refrain from exercising our power at the ballot box, we make it easier, because we wound up forfeiting. We wound up literally voting for the person that we don't want to win.
Right.
When you don't vote, you literally are voting for the person that won or whatever. And you wind up giving people these super majorities,
Right.
and that emboldens them and this, that, and the other. But we don't have the luxury. Unfortunately, I wish it was different, but it's not. But we don't have the luxury of refraining from certain tactics in our in our movement to further the black experience, the black American experience here in this country or whatever. We can't say that we're so progressive and we're so power to the people that we don't believe in voting. When we're watching people literally throw everything away to try and stop us from voting.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is because
if you don't believe it, what? Hey man, you don't really believe in the tooth fairy, but you put the tooth on the pillow when you was little, just in case, right? Just in case. Yeah. So no, it's not even about convincing people because
but you also brought this up too. You brought up the Black American experience. I think that there's been like you brought up, there's a masterclass of manipulation going on right now, to where a narrative has been put out there to where you have a lot of black people who don't think in terms of a collective. Not that we saying all black people have to think exactly the same, but there is one shared experience that we all have, which is we are black in America. And when you have certain black people who are now selling this narrative to where, no, we don't have that one common thread with each other anymore. I think now that's how that collective has been slightly infiltrated and diluted, because it's like you'll have black people who are happy to stand up and act as if they are separate from that Black American experience, where it's like, no, that wasn't me. I wasn't a part of that. It's like they are excited to be able to be the token in the room. And I found that to be amusing, because no matter how well off you are, there are always reminders that you are black in this country, and we can go back. History does not lie. The design of the country did not have us in mind. Now, we have, in spite of all that, gained a lot of success. And I think that that's a clear example of, if we're left unencumbered, how much can we get done? We're in the position that we're in now because we've been interfered with over the years. Mm-hmm. But we have not walked with the confidence level that a lot of other races have been able to walk in, as far as saying, I can just leave out my house and don't have to worry about nothing. But they don't have these talks in their households at a certain age. We all got, the talk, We all experienced that, whether it was from a parent, from an uncle, from a grandparent. Someone pulled you to the side and say, hey, listen, let me break it down for you. It don't matter it don't matter if you live life like the Huxtables or you were living life like you were in a Tyler Perry movie. Everybody had that one talk. So that's why I say there is that one common thread. No, all black people are not going to think the same, but we all do have that one common thread. And I think that has been diluted over the last few years, as far as acknowledging that common thread, in my opinion.
Well, the key identifier that I've seen is when we felt as millennials kind of leading that charge, mm-hmm. that as a collective, we had our greatest power and things of that nature, again, coming out of George Floyd, things of that nature. We were also in a place economically where you could say, no, F you, because I'm going to be good. Right. Everybody had, they side hustles and all these mm-hmm. things like that. But what's happened is we hit that buzzsaw in 2022. And man, listen,
honestly think it was a good
The
thing.
amount of people that I have seen that, have went from making, community decisions to business decisions, and making whatever justification that they have to make mentally in order to still stand tall and accept that check from this person or from that place. That's always going to be one of the biggest deciders of our liberation, of our ability to remove ourselves from institutional racism that we live with, experience, breathe, and all these things every day. And that's always been what it's come down to. Those that have put themselves forward for leadership historically has always come down to financial fatigue, if we're really honest about it, man. And so when you look at at folks that stand in opposition to us, they find ways to self-finance their movements, even though a lot of it is not self-financed. A lot of it is we're financing their movements through our tax dollars.
True.
And things of that nature.
True.
But if I'm going to go to City Hall and crash out behind something, right? Mm-hmm. Crash out through civil protest. Let me just say that.
Got to make sure we put that.
Look, I ain't got time to be on no list right now.
Please
put him on the list.
Look, it's summertime. I know you want to travel a little bit at some point in time too. Can't be on no band list.
But I have to weigh the cost of the impact to myself and to my family to do that. Mm-hmm. But when you look at people that stand in opposition to us, they can go and do that or whatever. Hell, people that literally murder us in the streets get GoFundMe's and raise $300,000-$500,000 and stuff.
Easy.
Profiting off of Black death and things of that nature. So I mean, the better that we do economically, mm-hmm. the better, the more strategic and the more lasting things that we do from a civil protest, civil disobedience, all these things for our communities is going to look like, and things of that nature. You just can't separate the two or whatever. I mean, you can't ask, how long can you expect, a man, a man or a woman to sacrifice themselves, to sacrifice self, to sacrifice, sacrifice their family, the personal happiness of their family, their wives, their husbands, whatever it is.
And they end up with, pennies.
Get nothing. And then not only that,
but the family is left.
The standards that you're held to, because we foolishly look for perfection. Yeah. From our leaders, which is insanity.
Yeah, that's a complete myth.
It is insane, and this particular leader, stubbed his or her toe or whatever, and we may have not had a word for that man or woman through none of these things that they've been doing, launched on our behalf of our community. Until they've had a misstep or whatever. Mm-hmm. But again, when you look at those that stand in opposition of us, flawed, imperfect. I mean, those are polite terms to describe,
right?
Those that stand in opposition of us, literally just being free to be us, to be culturally different or whatever. Because, at the end of the day, being polite in how I say this, it really just comes down to, man, cultural differences.
Yeah.
Just cultural differences or whatever. But, we're all, Black, white, Hispanic, whatever, we're all going to live and we're all going to die. And we
all got to breathe the same air.
And we all, we all gonna breathe the same air, as you said, man. But Parish wide. I mean, you could just look at who's the birth rate of the parish. You know, who's having kids, the age and demographic of the parish, and this, that, and the other, whatever. And no amount of no amount of white flight cities is going to change any of that or whatever. It's only so long that it's not viable. It's not financially viable. For white Baton Rouge to want to cater to white Baton Rouge, even financially. They don't have the numbers anymore.
No.
We're just in a place to where, man, like, we're gonna rise together, or we just not gonna rise. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it.
So there's been more talk, and I think it's in response. Well, I know it's in response to a lot of political fallout from last year. Mm-hmm. And the talk that I keep hearing about is them deconsolidation, where the mayor of Baton Rouge no longer serves as the parish president.
Correct.
Because you have all the other breakaway cities that can weigh in on that.
Correct. The idea that they're floating for the Brex Park system.
Yeah.
Almost to effectively, well, now you have 3 breakaway cities, out of a total of 5 as you would look at it. So, well, we have a majority from that standpoint. Let's kind of lean into decision making from that standpoint.
What are your feelings about the deconsolidation thing?
No.
Thank you.
No.
So,
no.
I've said this too many times to too many people.
Were we better together when we did not have the numbers in the parish? Were we better together then?
Yes.
Then we better together now.
I've said this before. I said, if deconsolidation happens, you're giving away your biggest bargaining chip, which is the parish presidency.
Yeah.
Because that is the bargaining chip at that point. If the mayor of the capital city does not have that title of parish president as well too, then you're giving away a huge bargaining chip. And I think that there's a lot of emotion that's tied to that type of talk that's trying to convince, we should just if you're in the city limits of Baton Rouge, then you just vote for the mayor of Baton Rouge, but you're giving away the biggest bargaining chip.
Yeah. I'm not for adding an at-large seat to the council. We can add a seat to the council.
Yeah.
Not an at-large seat to the council.
No.
No. It makes no sense. Why would we add an at-large seat to the council now? Oh, well, we want to conveniently do that now because we're approaching a tipping point to the numbers. To the numbers, as to where it doesn't matter. It's going to be 6-4 on the council, or whatever. 7-5 on the council, because you're just going to have 7 black majority districts. No, we're not doing that or whatever. All the years that that we had no pathway to a majority on the council, we wasn't going to add another seat or this, that, and the other.
Where do you think that talk really originated from, though? As far as deconsolidation. Okay, so you and I are really aligned with our mindset with that. Where I feel like that talk didn't start from us.
No. So here's what we fail to do. What we fail to do is check egos at the door, right? Mm-hmm. Check pecking order at the door. Mm-hmm. Right?
What's gonna get us the win?
Getting in the room and we have a whiteboard session and we don't land on one pathway to our objective.
We got to find several.
We land on
It's chess.
Right here,
it's
right?
chess.
It's chessboard right here.
Yes.
And we identify what the pawns are, who the pawns are.
Yeah.
Man, I love to hand people pawns that they think are rooks and bishops, and they just feel like that they just running you off the board or whatever. He's like, bro, like, I wanted you to do that.
Exactly. But that's what chess is about.
Like, that's cool.
And I'm definitely with you on that. I feel like the talk of deconsolidation, the narrative is that it's coming from people who look like us. But and it is coming from people who look out like us now, but it didn't originate there.
No.
That narrative was started somewhere else, and it's being made to think that this was our idea.
No,
but we will be giving away the biggest bargaining chip. Yeah,
the power that we hold with we still control the finances of the parish.
Thank you.
We still control the things that St. George cannot do what Zachary did.
No.
St. George cannot do what Central did,
because St. George is not this little niche, this little niche city.
You got one high school in Zachary. You got and then Zachary has a 2-mile barrier between them and Baker. Right? Like, listen, St. George. I'm at the red light, bro. I just seen Klein Peter, right? And I hit the gas. I'm in St. George now, dog. Like we still here, bro. We still locked in.
Yeah.
It's like it's not that kind of thing.
And
they're rushing it because they understand the political landscape that they have right now, and a lot of these things that they're trying to do, that they're standing in front of microphones and things and saying that they got figured out. They ain't got it figured out.
No, they ain't had nothing figured out since this whole thing started. And let's not act like St. George happened through just this wave of support. They barely got this. And keep in mind, the majority of the people that's in the St. George area didn't even vote. Let's not forget that the first time they tried this, they couldn't even get enough signatures to even get on the ballot. Mm-hmm. This is not that popular of a thing for them, but people tuned out and didn't vote.
Attrition.
And then this is where we are. But also, and I've said this, and this is just my opinion. This is how I feel. Brad might not feel this way, but this is how I feel. At the end of the day, a lot of this as far as St. George being a reality rests on the shoulders of the previous administration. Here's why I say that.
Okay.
Because there could have been a better effort to get people excited to vote against it. There was nothing. St. George had Facebook pages. They had billboards up. They was constantly pushing. There was no real effort as far as marketing is concerned to counter that narrative. And they had time to counter this narrative. They did not. It's like they just said, "Oh, it's gonna happen," and then just said, "Okay, cool." Now that's my opinion. If you know something I don't, please educate me. I could be 100% wrong.
No. So here's the thing. I agree, right? But here's where we have to add context and also just general understanding to this, right? When we look to move and be strategic, right?
Right.
As a business owner, when you're trying to scale, you're trying to add another service, do something else. How many people can you find that you can go and get insight from to help you do that? Or are you get a little bit, but, outside of, what your immediate circle can offer you, you're kind of on your own.
A little bit.
That's the same thing for us, even in black governance. And, what I would say about Mayor Broome is, and what I feel like that people couldn't communicate, people that wanted to support Ted or, whoever people decided to support, was that they felt as though ultimately, like, I think that from what her and her administration had the knowledge, the understanding to go out there and strategically do, they reached their ceiling. And so you look at what's going on with St. George, bro. Like this ain't these 5 dudes that got out there and went out and lie. Oh, we don't have a school system. That's the whole motivation or whatever.
Yeah.
That have carried this, for going back to 2003 now, something like that.
I think this originally the first incarnation of this happened in Kip's last term. So we're talking. This started in like 2012 when they really kind of started like getting it going, and I think it went on the ballot in like 2015.
Okay.
Well, no, they tried to get on the ballot in 2015. They failed. 71 votes short.
So the amount of national insight and understanding and strategizing that these St. George folks have received in order to help them effectively win this thing through attrition, we don't, Mayor Broom's administration did not get that same level of resources and how to stop that or whatever. Now, at the end of the day, when you're in leadership, the buck stops with you. True. Or whatever, So the same way everybody's going, hey, you did great. When you win, when you look, that's just how it goes. So I ain't carrying water for anybody, but it's more about remove who the black mayor was.
Right.
As a black mayor, black administration.
And to be clear, they tried this under.
They tried this under Kip too.
So
they tried this under Kip too.
So and I'm not saying this as far as just just trying to.
No. I know what you're saying.
Denigrate Mayor Broom.
No. I know what you're saying. And guess what? You should be able to say that without even having to get that caveat.
Yeah.
Because hey, guess what? That's the other side. That's the other side of the coin to when we come into power politically. Is we can't be afraid to hold our black leadership accountable.
No.
So, we shouldn't have to give the caveats and things of that nature or whatever. It should be, it should go without question. To me, there's nothing that Terrence has ever said that I would say that Terrence, stands in opposition to what's best for, Baton Rouge as a whole or whatever, because we all know what's best for black Baton Rouge is best for all of Baton Rouge.
Absolutely.
In reality.
Absolutely. But I brought that up because even at the first incarnation of this, when they tried it under Kip, I saw a greater effort to counter it with Kip. So what I'm pointing out is the fact of I just didn't see real effort.
But the scale of what they wanted to do then was way grander and real disrespectful and
because they tried to get the mall and everything.
It looked super aggressive nationally. Yeah. All of a sudden, we gonna play football games in Death Valley Tiger Stadium in St. George, Louisiana. Yeah. Like I remember reading an article nationally.
Oh, they really overgrabbed that first.
And so, for the trajectory of where, nationally Baton Rouge was being talked about, the direction we were going, you couldn't, nobody at the table, you couldn't let that happen. But that's what. But we saw the same thing with the library thing. Yeah. That wasn't black Baton Rouge or white Baton Rouge was against it. That was greater Baton Rouge was like. So wait, no, I don't care what's going on fiscally with any of this. I don't care if I live in quote unquote St. George. We're talking about something that works and works.
I brought that up, and like I said, and you made a good point. It is what's best for Greater Baton Rouge. I think St. George was horrible for Greater Baton Rouge, but I just didn't see a concerted effort. And I actually had Ted James on, and I expressed the same thing to him, and he even had to say, he was like, I
agree.
As elected officials who were in opposition to that, whether you're black or white, it could have been a little bit more. I mean, just a simple Facebook post or something. And it just felt, for me, it felt like they just said, yeah, they are. It's like it was like a foregone conclusion.
When it went to the courts, we put all the eggs in the basket that judiciously that we were going to win because you had a minority of voters to make a decision that affected the majority.
Even before the courts. Even before the courts.
No, I understand. Yeah. But what I'm saying is when we got to that point, everything just ceased and the court's going to take care of it, handle it. But then the political winds change. You get the former attorney general for the state becomes the governor.
Yeah, we start pushing buttons behind the scenes.
Then you get conveniently, all of these rulings that that just fast track all of these things that that didn't stand up politically.
No.
Even the current iteration of St. George, you don't have residents that live there that's fighting for that.
No.
You have a small group which we always allow this thing to where we allow small groups of people
Apartheid.
that we think have all of this great power. When it's not that they have great power, we fall under the spell and we magnify their power in our own minds.
Well, they just stayed the course. That was really
Attrition.
it. Yeah, they
It's
just stayed the course, and everybody else had fatigue.
Man, listen, let's be real. You know how hard it. Man, listen, you could be the hardest man or woman on earth, right? Mm-hmm. If every day, if your opponent is like, hey, every day when we wake up, I'm walking outside my door and I'm punching you in the mouth.
And we got to fight every day.
And we got to fight every day. Most recent men at some point is going to say, look, I ain't got too many teeth left. I mean, you done lost a lot of teeth too, but like, your value system is different than mine. You don't care about teeth. I care about teeth. And I mean, that's what happened. They're like, man, we won't get, but you know why they don't get tired? Because at the end of the day, what did it cost them? You're talking about taxpayer money.
Yeah.
We saw this same thing or whatever, and I'm just touch on this, whatever I should. But anyway, we saw the same thing with, when Boiling Root was going through their troubles or whatever. And, yes, definitely some things they could have done differently, could have done better. But at the end of the day, they were always going to lose that.
Yeah.
There was no punitive cost to that governing body,
to the opposition,
to go after them.
No,
effectively, you're paying for their legal fees to go after you, because their turns are paid and financed through tax dollars.
True.
And unless you want to take them to federal court or whatever it is, good luck on when you are proven to have been right within the law, to getting any type of reimbursement on your attorney fees.
Oh, that never happens.
And loss of business and hit to reputation, all those kind of things. And it's that's just what you're up against.
Yeah.
But again, at the end of the day,
I just feel like we have to start. I'm not gonna say adopt a certain level of thinking, or a certain way of thinking rather, but I feel like we have to start looking at, if they're looking at 3 moves ahead, we got to start looking at 10 moves ahead. Like
100%.
like even
we got to play it all the way out to the end.
Absolutely. Like even before the vote, why didn't we strategically just start incorporating swaths of land in the area to make it where it's not even valuable to try to incorporate at this point? Let's just start incorporating just big swaths of land in the area of St. George before it even gets to a vote. And I guess that's my issue, is that we had time. Time was actually on our side to get in front of this and counter it, and we didn't. We just, again, I just felt like we just let it happen. Just like, oh, it's just a foregone conclusion. They got it. They gonna do it, and that's just it. And that, I guess, that's what upsets me the most and makes me so frustrated, is because it didn't have to be. We could have actually defeated this because we had the time. That again,
I agree.
That's my opinion. That's my opinion. And again, this isn't a. I'm about to denigrate somebody or whatever, but it is like you said. I shouldn't have to do the caveat, but I want people.
Because effectively, you're not. It's not a personal slight.
No.
You're talking about.
This is just my observation.
But again, because black leadership, is still very new to us or whatever. In this parish, when you draw contrast with black leadership, people, still run to their feelings instead of, whether or not there's any merit of the contrast that you're given or whatever. Man, it's going to be interesting, man. But it's nothing different than what you see on a national scale, man. And, as people that voted for that, had to come to find out that man, like I can't oppress just particular groups of people without no, you can't, or whatever. Everything is too intertwined now.
You're right. I mean, when you bring up intertwined, like that's always how like I see like when people are saying, "Oh, it's gonna be like another civil war and everything." Actually, it's not, because it's not divided in that way anymore. Like everything is too close together. Everything is too too married up. So to feel like it's gonna be another civil war or anything like that, like it's gonna be pockets, but I don't see entire regions fighting entire regions at that point, because it's just the demographics don't support it.
Man, you can get there. I mean, if you can create a scarcity of resources,
yeah.
And you can.
But I'm saying that just as of right today, I don't see it today. Yeah, you can get there. I did want to touch on something national before we get up out of here though, and this is something super recent, but the whole fallout between Trump and Elon Musk. Now, I have two ways of looking at this. Number one, the fallout could be fake. It's not beyond those two to create a fake dust up between them. I've said this: the only way to know for sure if this fallout is for real is if the bill that they have in the Senate now doesn't pass. Or two, Elon snitch and say, "Hey, I helped rig the election."
He did.
If he come out and actually says that, now, if he struck a deal before he built it,
this man went out there and said exactly what I caught about what he said about his role in helping Trump win the election. If it wasn't for him, he wouldn't have won the election.
Yeah. He came dangerously close to snitching.
And then when he said, and you would have only controlled the Senate 51 to 49 seats. Mm-hmm. To me, that's him saying. To me, that's him. When I can tell you exactly what the numbers would have looked like, I know what the real election was.
Yeah.
But we did X, Y, and Z. But he doesn't have the protection under the law to do whatever he wants to do the way that Trump does. With the whole official acts thing that the Supreme Court, gave Trump. The reason that I'm gonna tell you that is real is in what universe have you ever seen two narcissists be able to coexist in a functioning relationship for any amount of time?
Oh, now look,
without this being, what the outcome is.
I had this discussion with two other people earlier in the year.
This man's son told Trump in the White House that, man, shut up, you ain't the president.
Yeah,
but
it was in January. I will call it now. It was Pastor Fred Jeff Smith at Shiloh. He said, "I give it to June." He said they're gonna implode. He said it to me. And my own father said the same. He was like, "Yeah, give it like 6 months. They're gonna implode because they're not gonna be able to get along for too much longer."
This is an extra convenience.
Yes. So, but that's why I say again, I'm very measured in moving. I don't mind if it's real or not because hey, a dumpster fire can be kind of entertaining at times, but it's not beyond them to fake it as well too. Now, is it real? Quite Possibly.
Nah, let me tell you, the stuff that Elon said, that ain't on Trump's list of insults for you to go make publicly.
I'm waiting on Elon to snitch.
Man,
I'm talking about no, really come out and snitch. Like, no, this is how we did it.
Man, this man, then he ain't gonna come out and do that. He's gonna go to jail.
Give him a good dose of ketamine and he goes abroad. He ain't got to be in America.
Brother.
Is he even really an American citizen?
He likes to be in America. It don't matter if he's in America today, whatever, he likes to be in America.
If he strike a deal for immunity and say, listen, no conviction for me. And yeah, and look, I know that in itself is a long shot because Kash Patel is the director of FBI. You know, yeah, it's all set up that way. I get that, but
exactly.
I said you never.
I mean,
you never know. You never know.
It's real. They've been beefing. You know, they've been beefing since day one. Him and Elon and Steve Bannon and.
I want to know who gave Elon the black eye.
Huh?
I want to know who gave Elon the black eye.
I mean, it's no telling with it's no telling with.
This has been the.
It ain't over though.
Oh no, it's far from over. This has been the worst reality TV show ever.
It's not a reality TV show, man.
It feel like it.
I feel like we're in a Marvel Cinematic Universe, bro.
So this like the multiverse?
This ain't, man. I hope this ain't the Prime Earth. Somebody got to be living in reality.
I really hope this ain't Prime Earth right now.
But man, you watched the most recent Hodgepodge Daredevil season, right?
Yeah.
With Fisk and stuff, and I'm sitting there watching it, and it's like,
man, it's so reminiscent.
Even the way Trump is moving, like with the tariffs and stuff, and how he announces them, like you know, if you're an 80s baby, man, and you grew up on all of our cartoons were about taking over the world, right? Not the town. They won't take over the whole world.
The whole globe.
And they got to go make the announcement on TV about what they want and what the ransom they want. And like, your boy be going and make these announcements about the terrorists and all this stuff. And it's like, and I'm like, dog, this is really like some comic.
It really is.
And I'm like, but we live in if this multiverse, we live in the one that don't have no heroes though. Everybody's a villain, dog. It's nothing but villains.
So we like Earth 225 or something?
No, we Earth. I don't know what it is.
I really hope this ain't Prime Earth, though. I'm with you on that. I really hope this ain't the Prime Earth.
Like, ain't no Spider-Man pop up there, no Iron Man.
We can't even get no Nick Fury, no Puck. Ain't nobody here.
Like now, it would get good now if instead of in this part of the multiverse, instead of Elon having a villain arc, he had a hero arc. What if Elon right now working on the Iron Man suit? Like at that point, I'd be like, "Oh, this shit cold." I'm like, no, really, I'd be like, I'm like, man, this is don't help our lives at all. But at least I'm entertained.
Plot twist, the ultimate plot twist. On that note, that's where we gonna leave it. Hopefully, this ain't Prime Earth. Hopefully,
it can't. No, it can't be. If it is, bro, go ahead and give us our encouragement, bro. Get us about here, dog.
I got to say this too. Shout out to my boy Will Merrill, who is said Baton Rouge not a real place because just what's everything going on. But right now, America's not even a real place.
I'm about to say, can we say Baton Rouge is very reflective of whatever this is.
Yes, because right now America is not a real place. We are in a comic book, and hopefully,
dog, our last president was like Bernie from Weekends at Bernie. Our last president was the walking like dog.
I feel bad for Joe.
Comic book, bro.
I really feel bad for Joe because Joe only ran in 2020 because I think he was like, man, what nobody else gonna win.
He had the only thing would have made comic book wise would have made Joe thing better would have been if Joe was like old boy David Lopan in Big Trouble in Little China. When he could do the thing and then he was young again.
Yeah. Now that would have
been cold.
Now what I feel what they should have done, I don't know if this was the plan originally or not. By year 3, Joe should have said, "Hey, I'm gonna go ahead and step down." Kamala becomes president. That way she would have had that solid year just being a full president at that point. And then she could have ran for her own actual election at that point. But she would have had that gravitas to her at that point. That's what they should have did. That's the plan they should have followed was Joe, get us in there And then by year 3,
100%.
go ahead and retire. But
Listen.
but see, Joe was feeling himself in year 3, like, oh, I could do this some more.
Listen,
I feel bad for Joe, man.
We should have still, it shouldn't have been close enough for them to steal the election.
Because we already sat through this movie.
But I can understand some people that were kind of turned off by Kamala. When some of the rallies started turning into hip hop concerts and stuff. And I saw the ones in Houston and Megan was out there twerking and stuff. I'm like,
I can see that, but in the same sense, we can't act like Trump didn't have Hulk Hogan ripping shirts at the
Hulk
Republican
Hogan ripping
convention.
shirts.
Like Kid Rock coming out, like
you got.
So we can't act like the other side wasn't being ratchet either.
No, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, the other side was way more ratchet too. But no, I completely understand that too.
That just served as an excuse for a lot of people. Man, listen,
it's not a real place. It's not a real place.
The worst candidate that you can run against Trump is a woman.
Yeah,
Trump brings out man, there are a lot of men,
and it don't matter how qualified the woman is because
it's crazy.
He's ran against 2 very qualified women,
and it's crazy. It's insane, But the pendulum, it always, And so look, man, we broke the universe, bro. We broke the multiverse when we voted for Obama in 2008. I'm serious. Like all of this,
the timeline shifted at that point.
Like all of this, and the TVA cannot catch up. Like all of this all of this is literally in response to we had one,
just
one,
yeah,
half black,
yeah,
half black.
Because if we
not even American, but half
African
black.
Because if we
President.
being honest, Kamala lived more of the Black American experience than Obama did.
Listen, I'm like, Kamala, when you gonna come out here and do an AKA stroll or something?
I was waiting on that.
What you doing?
Why?
What is you doing?
Why your campaign signs ain't pink and green? Come on.
And I'm being dead serious about that.
Why your campaign signs ain't pink and green, baby? That's all I'm saying. But no, I mean, you were absolutely right. He's only beaten women. I feel like in year 3, Joe, you got us here. Go ahead, step down. That way Kamala get a full year of being president. And that way when she runs for real, like now she can kind of, she has that gravitas or whatever. And I feel like originally that was the plan. But I feel like, Joe was like Jean Grey and the Dark Phoenix. And the Dark Phoenix ain't want to leave at some point. I'm like, hey, I'm feeling this.
But man, listen, in the grand scheme of things, outside of the pain that you have to deal with through the selfishness and incompetence of having Trump as a president and these things or whatever. Didn't say stupid because he's not stupid at all. It's probably for the best, man, because
it acts as a reset.
Because you have to, the people that easily fall for all of the divisive, the divisive tactics, this, that, and the other, they need them reminders of like, oh, you thought I was gonna suffer alone? Man, you live next door to me. What are you talking about?
Right. This is about all of us.
What do you?
Oh,
man, you're an educator. You're an educator.
The funniest thing was the news interviewing Trump supporters that lost their job soon as they got in. It was like, wait, and they all said the same thing. I ain't think they was gonna do it to me.
I thought it was misery for everyone but me.
Yeah, I ain't think it was about to be me too.
I say, and at the end of the day, I really ain't even mad at Trump. This is strictly on the American people.
Which is not a place anymore.
This is. We all got to hold the L, but they got to hold the L and look at they and live their lives with that decision. Because literally,
they part of the L is a lot heavier.
One thing I can say, man, if I saw Trump, I'd be like, hey, dog, real talk though, you actually, Like you cold with it, dog. Like you literally, y'all put out the business plan.
Yes.
Ahead of time. Like y'all.
And said this everything we gonna do.
You can read it. You can download that.
Yeah.
That's some cold shit, bro.
Yeah. And I'll say this. The thing I've always done this is that I don't have to like a person, but I can admire a tactic that they invoke.
Cold, bro.
I'm not a fan of Jeff Landry, but that man started running for governor as soon as John Bel Edwards got sworn in on his second term. On day 2, he was like, "Yeah, I'm campaigning." He started early.
That man ran the longest album drop ever. No, think about it, bro. Think about if Cobra Commander gave the American people and G.I. Joe the whole playbook.
and we still went with that.
Hey, dog, you look. This what you get. This Cobra Law, whatever it was.
You deserve it.
Like, but this just what it is, dog. But it's gonna get good, and I don't mean good like the outcome for us, but at least you have a reason to cut your TV on. It's gonna get good around next October. And then from there,
we'll see.
Man, the amount of content that's gonna come from them last 18 months of that dude in office. Oh, you talking about somebody that's going to get destroyed in midterm elections.
Oh yeah.
Destroyed in midterm elections.
Yeah.
So you talking about a Trump that has literally this dude. All he can do is get a Glock 17, a ski mask, and him and his people go try and do what they're gonna do because they have no other power and authority.
Yeah, Trump is literally the oldest YN.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's literally the oldest YN. But I'm hoping you're right. I'm hoping that this is not prime Earth. I'm hoping that I'm hoping at some point in time there's a portal to open up and some heroes from the other multiverse Earths come through and they can kind of.
You seen it in Deadpool Wolverine when they went to the world and Wolverine was pent up on the thing whatever.
Yeah.
This that one. We just ain't made it all the way. Ain't nobody come to save us except us.
Well,
but hey, man. In the end, it's gonna be okay. It might not be okay for us. It ain't been okay for us, dog. Not since 2008, since 2005, since Hurricane Katrina.
Yeah, well,
like whatever Hurricane Katrina blew in, it ain't never left.
But
it's been calamity after calamity.
But I'll say this too. I look at this as a much needed reset. I think a lot of people got way too comfortable, and being too comfortable makes one complacent. And I feel like
humans, we don't do well with prosperity.
Yeah, I feel like over the last few years, people got a little too complacent, and you need that abrupt reset to say, "Oh, wake up."
Hey man, it's like our relationships, man. Like we don't think it's real until somebody leaves, dog.
That's true.
We don't think it's like the relationship ain't good until somebody leaves.
That's true. So we just need that wake up call.
That's a crazy way of thinking,
but it's the truth. So I'm hoping that this is that Samuel Jackson in School Days wake up call. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, that was a movie, bro.
I'm hoping. Brad Gordon, I appreciate you coming through, man. I've been wanting you to stop through for a minute, man. I was building up episodes because I say at some point I gotta get my guy on here, man. Again, kindred spirit. Really appreciate you stopping through, and greatly appreciate you stopping through because I know that you're getting over a cold. Well,
I'm trying.
You're still fighting it, but you came out the house for me. I appreciate it. Hopefully you come out the house in the fall and the winter because the city is always a better place when Brad is outside. So remember,
confidence, sir. Appreciate the invite.
Thank you. So remember, I appreciate you guys for watching, listening, and remember, you either at the table, or you're on the menu. You decide. We out.